Welcome, everybody, to Stories of Hope, where today we're going to delve into navigating mental health challenges through the golden years and how the mind matters. There's one thing that they say that we can never get back or, cheat life out of, and that is our time. And so as we age, this is really important to be talking about with how we navigate this mentally. And this actually really excites me because I do not believe that we are a victim of aging. We have choices and roles that we can play into at least help impact the quality of our life. So what are we going to be focusing on this week? We're going to be focusing on the NeuroIM. And if you are not familiar with this incredible formula, it is a 10 blend mushroom formula that helps support the mental health of yourself, helping balance immunity, helping to navigate stress, because as with all our products, they all have adaptogens in it. And this formula can make a big difference as we age. Now, granted, like all of our products, this is fine to use for other ages as well. But right now, we're going to drive our focus on to aging gracefully, as I'm going to share it as. And for those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Valerie Bledsoe, and I have been in the alternative health industry for 44 years. And when I say that Soul has changed the life of myself and my clients and my family, this is the type of stuff I'm talking about. These types of testimonies. This is a great testimony from our own Rosa here, who's talking about it at the age of 62. She feels that her mind is even sharper than it's ever been before. Before she had, felt mentally blocked, didn't realize she had any issues because, when things come on a little bit a day at a time and we're just navigating life, we don't always remember what it used to be like. And so when she started taking the NeuroIM, she was blown away. She's sharper and she's being able to better mentally multitasking, get things done. And then this other picture here, we've got multiple testimonies from different ways that people were using the NeuroIM. I love when people are talking about how they can think better. I love how we've got this testimony about this gentleman, the father of a person who had Parkinson's. And once they started the NeuroIM, they could talk better and better be understood. And if you think about nootropic types of herbs, which these are, they feed the brain, that it makes sense that we're helping to navigate the brain's ability to accomplish tasks. We're here talking about even flexibility, because remember, the brain's not just involved with thinking, it has a role in controlling how the body performs. We're talking about flexibility in toes, nerve damage, had some people having difference and impact and worse headaches, and the fogginess of early onset being gone of issues. They're being able to think of their thoughts better, execute them. People having better focus when they're reading longer documents. And again, more people with challenges with articulating words, which is often one of the things that people associate with aging. NeuroIM has stepped in and does an amazing job. So the question you might be asking yourself is, okay, so we have a formula here that supports the brain. What do adaptogens have to do this? And why would I need this in a formula for aging? Well, let's talk a little bit about this specifically. And that is, what are adaptogens? Well, adaptogens are a specific class of herbs that does help us reduce the impact of stress on the both the mind and the body. And you cannot separate the mind and the body. They are connected. And the more that you heal and start to feel better, you realize that. So think about when your gut is off a little bit. Often we don't think as clearly, or vice versa. In fact, when the brain is forming in the nervous system, there is a separation that happens. And so there ends up being literally a direct connection. So when one's out of balance, the other gets impacted. But let's understand a little bit better about what the adaptogens do, what is required in order for them to be recognized as adaptogen. Number one, they have to be safe for daily use. Number two, they have a wide variety of medicinal plant components. Medicinal meaning helping to therapeutically support the body and bring it in to balance. As you know, the third part of the definition is it balances the functions of the mind and body. So adaptogens bring something into balance, whether it's overactive or underactive. It's going to help scale it in so that you're on task and be able to complete. And in this case, on our particular focus for this, even though this formula does more than things for the mind, we're focusing on mind. Well, adaptogens also help with stamina. So let's think about when we're younger and maybe we're doing long prepping for exams, long study sessions. That would be stamina for the brain, or stamina at your job, or being able to have stamina to carry out through a conversation. So as we age, that's one of the complaints that a lot of people have. They just don't think as well as they used to. And so for adaptogens for this becomes important, having that stamina to go the distance. And then finally, adaptogens, I'm stabilize an immune response, because whether the immune response is overactive or again underactive, it's going to strengthen it and bring it into line the way that it should be. And so what would be an adaptogen that we have in the NeuroIM? Well, the maitake mushroom would be a good example of that. So if you want to learn a little bit more, that'd be the one to jump into. So what are some of the benefits of adaptogens? And remember, they are in all of our soul formulas. And number one here would be reducing the impact of stressors. And I think this is important because there's a different set of stressors that come about as we age. And I'm familiar with this. I took care of my grandmother as she aged, and she was 101 when she passed. And I have taken care of a lot of elderly clients. And so there are multiple stressors that can come in. And we're going to detail that a little bit here in a second. So other benefits are it helps your resilience and ability to recover. So a lot of people as they age feel like their immune system is not as healthy as it used to be. Well, part of that is the stressors, because the body's still functioning, but we have aging parts. And then finally, adaptogens customize their benefits to match particular needs. So what might some of those needs look like? It could look like the loss of a spouse. I've seen how that can impact. In fact, if you haven't heard, it's really neat. And I even see it with my husband and I. The longer you're together, the more you actually end up sharing parts of the brain. And I can start a thought and he can literally finish it. Well, the longer a couple's been together, and we've only been together 30 years, the more you see that happen. So people really are lost when they lose a spouse. Aging can be scary as well, especially if the elderly people in your family didn't navigate it so well. So that can be stressful. And sometimes when people also, when they've gotten retired, maybe they've worked their whole life towards this, and then all of a sudden they're retired and they really have kind of lost their sense of purpose. All of these are stressors on the system that maybe have never been considered, because people think, oh, stress is, narrowly saving myself from a massive car accident or something. Well, stress looks different and can often be unrecognized if you're not looking for it. And finally, another one that as we age, we navigate is our children growing up and moving away from home. So these are important things. So let's look at how adaptogens work. Now that we've talked about some of these stressors, you can see that stress is always going to be in our life. It's just part of the way it is. It's how we respond that makes the difference. And that's what adaptogens do. They're going to help you bounce back quicker and navigate that more evenly. As you see from this diagram, the stress response without an adaptogen has much higher highs and much lower lows. But with the adaptogens, it's very quickly is able to navigate and then scale out more simply and be resilient, that resilience that we're talking about. And the neat thing is, the longer we take them, the more continuously we take them, the better they work. So I believe now we're going to get to hear a testimony from a dear friend of mine and how she was able to utilize the NeuroIM specifically with her father's health issues.
Our next testimony is from Tammy Bontrager. So Tammy, go ahead and come on.
All right, thanks so much for having me. This is one of my favorite soul products, and I know that I say that about a lot of them, but this is one that has affected my family, and I'm so forever grateful for NeuroIM. It's really been about 15 years ago. My dad was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and his whole mother's side of the family had it. I think there were like 9 kids or something like that. And like all of them ended up having Alzheimer's. And so when he was diagnosed with it, it was kind of one of those, okay, where we know where this is going. But so it was hard to, manage that. But the neurologist did say that it looked like his was kind of a slow progressing, which was awesome. And so he had, pretty much lived in a state of frustration and a lot of confusion just because he couldn't remember things. And he would tell you, it's like, oh, I just can't remember anything. My memory's just not very good. And it's like, yeah, we know. And but anyway, he didn't really seem like he was progressing very, very rapidly. So we were thankful for that. Well, going back to a couple of years ago when we were at Snowbird, and I think it was Snowbird when NeuroIM was introduced, and I was so thankful, and I couldn't wait to get him on that. And so I asked him if he would start taking it daily. And he's like, well, if I can remember to take it, I will. And I'm like, okay, well, we'll get you something going so that you'll have that every day. And I said, would you do a favor for me and just try and write down how you're feeling? Like if your brain feels any different, if you feel any different. And he's like, well, if I can remember to do that, I will. And I said, okay. So I would touch base with him every so often and say, how's it going? And I said, are you taking your pills? And he said, well, I think so. And he had been, because mom would put him in his little pill case every day. And I'd say, do you feel any different? And are you noticing anything different? No, I don't think I can tell anything. Okay, so fast forward several months, and mom said that she could really tell a difference in his memory and just his attitude and recall and stuff like that. Well, then he had run out, and she's like, order more. They definitely are making a difference. And so I got him back on them. And then, so he had been on them a couple years, and one of his last neurology appointments, the doctor told him, you are doing so well and so fantastic that I'm almost tempted to downgrade your diagnosis of Alzheimer's to age-related dementia, which was huge. I think that he is getting worse. He definitely is, he won't remember a conversation just, right after you have it, but he still remembers all of us, and he's he's doing really well, all things considered, because he's had it for so long. But I just find it fascinating that and now he will ask my mom, he'll say, well, I think I need my brain pills, and that's what he calls them. So we always call him his brain pills. And so we're thrilled. I love it for that. And then I was just supposed to talk about that, but just real quick, I would love to say that my daughter-in-law has had so many concussions and has had migraines and headaches for several years. She had been on trying to get medication that wouldn't work, and she'd just been doing tons of different things. And she has been on neuro, and really it's about one of the only things that has really helped lessen the severity of her migraines. So yay, NeuroIM.
I love this story for a couple different reasons. One, her wrapping up talking about her daughter-in-law, showing exactly what I was referencing, that don't limit the possibilities here just to the elderly, because that's what we're talking about. Realize that there are benefits regardless of the age. And second of all, this was a great example of helping the brain to still function well enough to lessen the stressors that are coming with aging, because we've all seen it, that frustration that comes when someone elderly isn't recognizing someone or is not remembering something that was important. It can be embarrassing for them. So, and being able to come in and support with the neuro, which again is 10 different mushrooms that help support multiple things, but in this case, it really targets the brain and what we're talking about. And then the adaptogens in it to help navigate the stress with it. So again, a really great way to help support whether or not this type of condition or concern is in the family or not. So as you hear, stories are really important, and we love to hear your story. You just never know whose life you might be touching, and that moment when they hear your story, they may go, that's the missing link. That's what I've been looking for. So please reach out to us and let us know if you have a story or testimony you'd love to share, because again, it's about paying it forward and who can we help. And on a final note, if you would like to have notification before our broadcast goes live, about 15 minutes before, I set up a text that can go out if you opt in. It's very simple. Opt in using the word HOPE, HOPE, to the phone number 1-866 256-1970. And those are set up to go out every week, 15 minutes before the presentations go live. So thank you for joining us. And I hope that we get to see you at our future presentations and that you can take this information and go change someone's life.